Electrolasers are a type of direct energy weapon that have been around for about a decade. They basically shoot an invisible laser that can penetrate through barriers and enables them to pass electricity through that invisibly. It can be done from a drone or from a handheld device. It can cause vibrations and shocks, mild or severe. It can cause jabs, and it can literally push a body part or your entire body. It can have no temperature at all, or it can have a warmth or a burning to it, and it can also cause a freezing sensation or freezing burns. Check with your local law enforcement or nearby federal office or military base, particularly the tactical team or the Special Weapons and Tactical Team. That's what SWAT stands for. These are special weapons. I have been a victim of gang stalking by a terrorist group, that uses electrolasers, among many other toys or devices that they treat as toys, that can cause all of the physical symptoms that I have documented. Additionally, I have witnesses that have felt the energy beams that were aimed at my feet, fired from these electrolasers. They went on official, written, and interviewed record with a sergeant from Travis County Sheriff's Department, along with me and another victim. Here you will see me documenting my pain and often doing simple sanity checks to show that I can block the energy beam, at least partially, with my hand or arm or foot. And instantly my hand feels those same sensations, blocking it from the affected body part. The back of my neck pretty hard now. I can put my hand on here and I can feel a rapid pulse. They were like, you call it a migraine? We'll give you a migraine. Then all of a sudden my whole fucking face starts to hurt. Once again, they said, we'll give you a migraine, and the pain increased in my head. That is not my brain manifesting voices because it detects that there is an impending migraine, nor do I have the power of premonition. Plus, I can block the pain with my hand, as I demonstrate here. I can put my hand up like that. My hand's on pain now because it's been blocking the targeted energy beam. They just said, we're going to kick it up a notch. And it feels like I've got jolts of electricity going through the left side of my body. Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. And they said earlier, like, we're going to focus on your knee. And they have been zapping my knee like a motherfucker. Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. All I've been doing was sitting at my desk typing. Look at that fucking lump there. And it hurts. And I can do that. And now my hand hurts. Like, look at this. Like, look at my fucking knee. Like, look at this fucking knee. They said that they were going to cause me to have a mimicked asthma attack. Hey, Kip, we said we could give you an asthma attack. You can control the breathing, too, just by shocking your diaphragm. Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. Now they're saying, hey, Kip, tell them that we're going to make you start doing facial tics. So we're going to start doing facial tics. This is involuntary. Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. They're vibrating my leg, hit me here, and they cause, some twitching to happen. I never get twitches here. When they hit you, sometimes they can cause a muscle to twitch. So you get like cramps, or what feel like cramps, or twitching, like in places like where you've never had a muscle cramp or a muscle twitch ever before. My whole back feels an electrical shocking sensation that's very close to goosebumps. My balls are getting racked, and I can feel my forearms getting hit. They were hitting my face with it's like a fluttering sensation. It's causing my vision to waver. They're hitting me right here, hitting me here. I can feel right there. My hand hurts. Hand doesn't feel anything here. Right there, it feels a pain. It feels like there's like needles like going. I can put my hand over here, and I can feel an electrical field hitting my entire arm. And I feel sharp pricks hit my hand. They're doing the thing to my feet that makes my feet curl. They're jolting my asshole. And I literally feel it going rump, rump, rump. And they're zapping my penis now. So they're like, is that a sexual touch? They're pushing against me, causing me to literally almost fall backward. But it's like, it feels like it's down here, and it's like, woo. I literally feel like my body go, woo. And my nipples are getting the electric nipple tweak. And I cover it with my arm. And my forearm is getting shocked now. They are zapping my asshole now. I can put my hand down here. I feel an electrical surge going through my hand. It feels like there's an incredible weight pounding down on my back. I can do this, and my entire arm is electrocuted. They're doing something that's like the heat lamps on my fucking face. The skin feels warm, but on the inside, and then on the inside of my throat, it feels cold. It's like a cold burn, which is a feature of crowd control devices. It's hitting my head, it's hitting my fucking face, it's hitting my whole body. It's causing me to be way more agitated than normal. It's hard to sit still with this. You got electricity flowing through you for one thing, but then this burning sensation, it feels like I'm in front of a heat lamp that I'm just trying to like avoid. It's up in my chest and my nipples, particularly. Is that a sexual touch, they just said? Getting my feet zapped and getting the sensation that they're being stepped on in the shoes that they're on. The shoes actually literally caving in. I can literally feel the roof of my shoe came in onto my foot. Why would it be warmer here, and why would it feel like it's 30 degrees right here? There's no open window, there's no draft or anything. In fact, there's a heater right there, a brand new heater. I literally do this with my hand, and now my hand feels colder. It feels like it's being stuck in the freezer. Both my hands feel like they're blocks of ice. This hand's holding the fucking warm cell phone. There's a heater right here, and it still feels like it's getting frostbitten. I do that, and it stops. My hand feels a buzzing on it. It feels an electrical buzzing on it, and my ear no longer feels that. Now, all along here, I feel an electrical buzzing, and it's painful. My whole body's shaking right now, and I'm being electrocuted. Now they're hitting my throat a little bit, and it's causing my voice to vibrate. I'm trying not to seem like I'm exaggerating it, and they're also causing my voice to spasm right now. I did not get Tourette's or epilepsy with this, and I'm also feeling freezing temperatures through my whole body, and the space heater is right there, and they're mocking me right now, and they're like, "Oh, Kip, we're making you tremble, but just barely, Kip." Like my whole body's convulsing right now. Voice-to-skull technology, or V2K, is 50 years old and uses microwaves to transmit audio up to hundreds of yards away through barriers to a person's skull. At the lowest volume, it is indistinguishable from thought. It can also control and manipulate one's speech also. Check with your local law enforcement or nearby federal office or military base or your nearby magician or mentalist, as they use it in magic tricks where they pretend to pick numbers from people's brains.
So a lot of weird things have been going on in my house. I do recall on Nextdoor, someone had posted that someone was flying drones in the neighborhood in a company-marked vehicle. Those people said that they were flying drones to get aerial shots for the homeowners association. The HOA responded immediately that no, that was not the case, and then the people kind of fled. I have no idea if that was the beginning of this group, but I do know that there were drones in our neighborhood. I saw drones outside of my house there, near the end of my stay there. I saw one fly up to my window, and then the week after I moved out of my neighborhood, after my house foreclosed, a woman had posted that there was a drone spying on her outside of her window. My gay best friend George Longoria moved in, and pretty soon he thought he heard me talking behind his back, and our relationship turned very sour, and he moved out. And I now know that he did hear my voice saying mean shit behind his back, or not really behind his back, but as other people heard people talking behind their back and had hallucinations. And I just thought it was some weird thing, because I didn't have a bad choice of roommates after that. And but I don't think it was their fault. I think many of them were victims too, as was I. In September 2016, I went to the extended stay. Suddenly, after 3 or 4 weeks, I started hearing high frequency noises. It seemed to follow me at times. It seemed to have an intent behind it. And I'm not a paranoid person. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I have a very rational thinking brain. And I started hearing voices. I heard a girl say, "Oh my God." I was completely naked in my bed. All the curtains were drawn. No one could see me. And I heard, a woman's voice go, "Oh my God, he's completely naked." But I was like, who are these people? And then they started talking with me. And I thought, maybe I'm going schizophrenic or something. I didn't really know much about schizophrenia. The really important thing is, they were like, the guy in 3-1 that we just did Simon Says with, he's got your phone, he hacked your Google account. it appeared that he had, and that he had my phone. My phone was in a radius that was within his room or the room above, or in the immediate vicinity outside of his room. And an email address that linked to 2 Facebook profiles and 1 Google Plus profiles that appeared to be him. I think
that email address was used to hack my Google account. So once again, I do not have the power of premonition. I could not have predicted that the guy in 301 had my stolen phone or hacked my Google account. I could not have suspected that or guessed that, even in a paranoid, delusional, schizophrenic state. So that proved within a month of hearing these voices that they were from real people and that I was not schizophrenic. I was not in denial. Additionally, schizophrenia does not hit someone at age 41 without a history of mental illness. That rarely happens. Within a week of moving in, so joked about how that represents a meth pipe. And shortly after I moved in there, they used Christine Pavelka's voice, and I was walking Max around the building, and they were like, "Ooh, we're gonna drop a meth pipe in your bush." And right when I turned around the corner, like seconds later, I saw 2 girls walking by my apartment in the opposite direction, or I guess in the same direction I was walking in. And they were like, "We're gonna drop a meth pipe in your bush." And not the girls, but the voices. And they did it in Christine Pavelka's voice. And I saw the girl dip down, and it looked like she was dropping something or picking something up near my bushes, but I didn't see anything. They were like, "Ooh, we're going to call the police and say there's a meth pipe in your bush, and we're going to get you arrested." Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. Before my visit to the Roto-River family practice, the voices had been starting to tell me details about past visits to Roto-River family practice over 10 years ago. They dropped pieces of information from past visits. It would say, "How would we know that? You must be schizophrenic, because like no one would know that. So we must not be real people. You must have schizophrenia." June 30th happened. I it was a Saturday, and I went to see the doctor. He said, "Well, now we have an in-house lab next door that we can use, so we can just draw your blood here." And said, "I'm a very easy person to get blood from. Very easy. They just usually pop me right here." So she didn't seem to have a problem. She got the big vein right there and was taking blood. And then she stopped. And I thought she said, "Oh, I didn't get any. Let me get some help." And I was like, "Okay." And then I looked down, and I'd seen that she did take blood. So I didn't think anything of it. And she brought this white woman in. She took this ridiculously sized needle. It was not a needle that anyone would ever use to draw blood from in this day and age. She didn't draw any blood. She just went like that. And she smiled at me like this. And I was just in shock. At the most, all I needed was a single Band-Aid for this arm. They wrapped me in excessive medical tape in a sloppy manner. And so I left the office, and then the voices started up, and they were like, in Travis County Correctional Complex. They told me I was going to run into Micah. And lo and behold, I got moved. So Micah came up, and he was there. Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. In jail, I did a journal, December 4th, 2017. At 1:23 p.m., I heard, "Is it hard to breathe?" And then suddenly it felt like there were 1,000 little hands pushing on my chest, and then it was. Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. Then they said, "Reach for the stars." And this was just as an officer walked by that had a star tattoo on his elbow. I'd never noticed that before until they said that. Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. Another day, they said, "Are your ears hurting?" And then suddenly they are. And then a high-frequency tone just started being broadcast to my head. Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. Another day, they said, "We'll just pound your balls." And then they just did. Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. Another day, they said, "Fake heart rate increases dramatically." And then my heart rate increased dramatically. Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. Another day, they said, "Let's turn on the heat wave." And then it felt like a heat lamp was on my face. Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. Another day, they said, "We can make you throw up like Epicac syrup." And then I felt a heat lamp, the scalp chill, and the throat pressure, causing a burp that was almost a verp, almost made me vomit. Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. Another day, I was reading the Dark Tower series, and they oftentimes read along with me aloud while I was reading the book. And then oftentimes they would read ahead. And then one day in particular, they read ahead when the text was on the other side of the page. So I thought that was important to note because I couldn't even see that in my peripheral vision. Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. Another day while I was writing my journal, they mentioned to me explicitly that I had forgotten to mention in my journal before that when I was on the bus coming back from court, that they mentioned the word easy. And then when I glanced to my left after they said that, I saw a sign that said easy something. And they made a big, whoop-de-doo about that. Once again, I don't have the power of premonition.
They keep building up to a climax over and over and over again, coming up with ideas for their doom, which is like the dumbest thing in the entire world. They're trying to make me think that it's the person on the other side of the bed, and that's the one reason why these people are so dangerous. And it's because not only do they try to drive people towards hurting themselves or hurt, but they also try to drive people towards hurting other people. They're trying to make me think that it's the people over there, which I'm sure it's not.
Ooh, Kip, look, 666. Ooh, it's evil, just like us. Ooh, 1341. Hey, Kip, you're going to see 1431 come up. You used to work off of 1431, right? You're going to see that come up a couple times. Oh, look, Kip, we told you there was going to be a 1341 and a 1431 come up. Actually, there's going to be two 1431s that come up. Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. Ooh, Kip, look, there's another 1431. We told you there were going to be two of them coming up. How would we know that? Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. Oh, look, Kip, there's that 1040. Remember, you took two license plates. We reminded you that you took down two license plates that had 1040 in them. Remember that? So my sister has a figurine of a poodle that was in her trailer that I had moved into. And when I walked in the trailer one day, they had me focus on it. And they were like, ooh, we're going to use that poodle as a reference later tonight.
And there are too many years left, and I don't know what to do. Get a poodle.
Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. So the word Canton came up. My dad lives in Canton, Georgia. And they're like, ooh, that means that, that's a sign to hang in there. I don't give a shit.
So the thing that they're going apeshit over this thing is they're saying that this thing that I'm putting my bubble around, that shape, that sort of mauve shape.
Ooh, it looks like that. Ooh, it means something. Ooh, and I wouldn't have even noticed that.
737, that's the new area code in Austin. Ooh, I come across it, they're like, oh, that looks like that California raisin that you have. Didn't you used to collect those?
Voice-to-Skull can also control the words coming out of one's mouth. Think of a sound, or in conscious language, 3 signals go from your brain throughout your skull and to your throat. 1 signal goes through the bones in your skull. There actually exists on the market microphones that work like bone-conducting earphones, but in reverse, and actually pick up this, what's called unvocalized speech, also called imagined thought, and also called covert speech. This is for use in loud areas and for people that need to take notes or communicate more securely than with speaking out loud. The other 2 signals go to your larynx or voice box area. There are actually 2 different microphones in very early initial stages of research that attempts to use them for people with impaired speech. Hearing sounds and hearing another person speak or sing causes those same signals to go through your head. This is why you sometimes have to clear your throat when you hear someone sounding like they have to clear their throat. This is why you yawn when you hear someone yawning. This is why you can more easily sing on key when you can hear yourself singing or when you hear someone else sing on key. And because voice-to-skull goes straight to the skull, skipping the conversion process from the ambient noise that we hear that's an acoustic sound to bone-conducting sound that our brain processes, it is a much faster communication than normal hearing and can allow a target to vocalize what they are hearing via voice-to-skull than someone else that is listening to someone normally and repeating what they hear. I'm going to allow the terrorists, which are already choosing to say the words that are coming out of my mouth, to continue speaking and do a demonstration of how voice-to-skull can be used to change your accent and to change your speech patterns. So now we're going to change his voice right now, and Kip LeCrone did not choose to change his voice right now. Do you think Kip LeCrone has multiple personalities and suddenly he's starting to talk about himself in the third person? Why aren't we doing the accent thing? Okay, now we're doing the accent thing. Hey, Carrie. Hey, Carrie, you think that Kip LeCrone is choosing to do this? Do you think Kip LeCrone is suddenly, changing accents? Do you think he has multiple personality disorder, Carrie? Look, we're going to start doing a Tourette's attack on him. And we find this so hilarious. Hey, Carrie, hey, guess what? Hey, we're going to start doing a Tourette's attack on him, Carrie. Look at that. Oh my God.
Oh my God, we're shocking the left side of his face. We are slowly changing his voice right now. Do you think Kip LeCrone is really choosing to do that? Kip never talks like this. He doesn't even do accents. He can do a southern accent, and we can pick that up right now. We can talk in a southern accent right now. We can totally change his voice. We saw his phone number, a portion of his phone number, 6 out of the 7 digits of his local phone number in the game that he's playing.
So they're freaking out over this one because this is almost my phone number. 484-4247 is my phone number.
The odds of that happening are like 1 in a million. And then Sprinkle Spankles comes up in Blackish. Is that us? That is not a coincidence that got in there. That serial that existed when Kip, in 1993 or 1994, that Kip ate with Ben and Roby. And we know both of those. We knew about Roby. And we know that, like, the lesbian or the gay guy said, I can smell it from over here. The sugar. And we know about the banana runs container. How would we know that? Did you know that you will forever be known as someone who wouldn't spend less than 10 seconds of your time with the most minimal amount of effort to help? Did you know that you, all of you may think that you're fighting terrorism when in fact you are supporting terrorism? If a little girl was being raped, beaten, and stabbed in here, you would not send messages of hope to the terrorists via text message to give to the little girl while they're raping, beating, and stabbing her. Did you know that better is better than the worst? Did you know that anything is better than the worst? You literally have actively participated along with terrorists and aided terrorists and supported terrorists in pushing Kip down the suicide path, the worst path possible. He would die lonely, never to be happy again, in pain, being physically and sexually assaulted, never to know if his father or anyone else ever believed him. We say that to him all the fucking time, along with so many other horrible things that we say to him. You are not powerless or incapable of helping Kip.
So much of my channel is documenting my pain from the electrolasers and documenting the voices from the voice-to-skull technology. And then the rest of my channel is pretty much documenting these wacky projections that started around the same time as the voices and the pain. I'm going to freeze it here to showcase above the closet. I think that's pretty clearly an eye, or something that couldn't be interpreted that way. It even has an iris, and it'll morph and it'll change. Here it looks like there's a pair of eyes, and you can even make out the bridge of a nose. You could interpret it as being part of a pair of eyes, or you could interpret it as just a single eye. But this is what I saw like every single day. And then any time that Tim came into my room or Alan was nearby, or not nearby, but next to me, this stuff would die down where I really couldn't see it. But when they left the room, or when they were facing in the opposite direction of me, this stuff would kick up a notch. The very reason why I take so many of these videos is because I'm trying to desperately capture this footage to show to my dad, look, I see this with my eyes unaided. Even if you can't make out any animations, because most of the time I don't see animations in this, I just see a lot of wiggling, a lot of movement, a lot of noise. I thought my eyesight was going bad in October of 2016, and that's why I started filming the walls, because I was like, there's something weird about the walls. They look like, it kind of looks like I have one contact in and one contact out, but there's some movement to it. It looks like they're fuzzy and moving a little bit. And then I saw a silhouette of a man and a woman dancing. Maybe a half a mile away from the Grove, or a mile away from the Grove. I was walking up a sidewalk in a neighborhood, and I saw a hologram, like an icon of a person in a running position. And I was actually able to walk around it. And down the street, I don't know, like half a block away, there was a hologram of a green bicycle. And these things were lit up kind of like a neon sign, but not quite as bright as that. And it literally glided past me on the street. I was lying on the couch like this, long ways, and then up that way was a Maureen Kina poster. And immediately when he left to go drive for Lyft, all this red light flooded the apartment. And a lot of these they weren't quite like laser beams, but like you can think of them as like laser beams. They weren't quite that strong. It's important that when you look at it, my eyes saw that unaided. It is not camera noise, Dad, or Tim, or anyone else. It is not camera noise. The red light flooded the room, especially over the poster, and this distortion happened right in front of the face. Now, I'm not saying that the print changed itself. I don't think there's a ghost or some supernatural thing happening.
but there was a beam coming in, hitting the wall. I don't know which direction it was coming in, but it's hitting the poster right around the face. I mean, it was all over the place, but there was a strong concentration. A lot of times when you watch my videos, you'll see like these little swirly points, like vortexes. There's one right over his face. And I literally saw his face change or morph with a projection on top of it. I don't think it was just a distortion, but it changed. And this is evidence of projection mapping, because it recognized the face and it put other faces on top of it. It even removes the head entirely at some point, and it makes him look like he's decapitated. The video doesn't do it justice, but it's still a good video of evidence showing what my eyes saw. It actually was much more elaborate in person. It was much clearer in person. Is where his tail is. They kept making it look like there were sparks traveling upon it. The video doesn't quite do it justice, but you'll see like little white blinks of light, and to my eyes, it looked like illustrations of sparks going up his tail, going whoosh, especially at the end of it. The last time I'd seen Clyde was when I was at the Grove on my birthday, actually. Before I left jail, they kept bringing up Clyde like a motherfucker over and over and over again. And he's on the soundboard. He's also on the visual board. And they kept projecting his face. Well, after my birthday in 2018, I went to his house, and I saw a realty for sale sign, but I called the number, found out it was his brother, and I found out Clyde died. And immediately after that, they did the visual board with Clyde. So around the time that Clyde died, unbeknownst to me, they were projecting images of Clyde's face into my eyes while I was in jail. Once again, I don't have the power of premonition. Also, when I was at the Manor House, they put projections on the wall, even in the middle of the day. Like, even those still shots and the shots of the, it's a plain white wall. I mean, it's off-white or whatever. It's like got a bad paint job, but it doesn't have pink and blue and green colors all over it. Nor does the camera produce that when looking at a normal wall. Like, do you see that here on this wall? No, they're not doing it crazy. It's not like the photo that I'll put right here. It's not like that. I'm going to focus in here on one area of the wall in which I interpreted sort of like a creature, and maybe you interpret it differently or not, or as nothing at all. There's the eyes, and there's the beak. It's a common shape that I see in this quite often. And I'll show it in the rest of the image now and remove the enhancements. And you'll see that the shapes are still there, along with a whole bunch of other shapes. And again, whether or not you interpret this as anything, I still saw these shapes on the wall in these colors, not as saturated, and I saw them moving like this without the use of a camera. I saw this with my own eyes, unaided, without the camera. I didn't just choose to point the camera there and then, you know, in a paranoid state, like look through the camera noise. This is not camera noise. I saw it with my eyes. And here's a freeze frame, and I'm going to put some eyes on here, what could be interpreted as eyes. And I think in many of the cases, it's pretty obvious that it's intended to look like eyes. And the Gangstalkers terrorists like to project faces into the trees, and they can also create faces physically with their weapons that can literally jab you or push you, you know, to the side, or push you forward, or push against you. I've literally seen them create in slow motion eye sockets, and then not just pupils, but then irises as well. This is actually a stop sign right there, and I kept seeing it rapidly flash and change different shapes. I also saw that house there on the hill. I would see it rapidly change colors, similar to what it looks like now. This is slowed down a little bit, but in slow motion you can see how it like puts things that could be interpreted as faces. Those eyes, when they this twack, when it intersects anything that's brighter than it, or that can show the pattern against it, it makes it look like there's faces on it. So, and it captures the attention. It kind of confuses you, and it allows you to waste your time because you're just sitting there staring at it in awe or confusion. You'll see here that the stop sign continuously looks like it has a pair of eyes or a single eye on it, or what could be interpreted that way. You know, even my channel icon, you know, looks like there's a face in the stop sign.
and I'm going to show how you could interpret it with having, you know, eyes in it, and how they can confuse people and catch someone's attention and waste their time and scare them or freak them out or just confuse them. Similar to the projections on the walls or in the bedrooms, you might not see these shapes yourself or interpret them that way, but I hope that this points out how they could be interpreted that way and are meant to be interpreted that way, I believe, to take advantage of the brain's pattern recognition and facial recognition and eye recognition. Not only can they project images into the foliage, just like they can into bedrooms and onto walls, make eyes. So if there's a hole already in the tree somewhere or a hollowed out point, I've literally seen like another one appear to the left or to the right of it to give the appearance of another eye, and for them to like, I've literally seen it in slow motion to where they were literally creating an eye. This is a shot above the roof of the neighbor next door. There's the roof. It's really hard to see. As you can see, it's obscured by the twack, not just low light conditions, and that's not just camera noise. But there it is again. But this is why it's impossible to get footage of the drones, especially at night. Because if you turn your flash on, all this twack that you see reflects back at you. It's like turning your bright lights on in the car when it's really foggy. It just, you know, reflects back at you. That's why they have fog lights that are lower to get below the fog. But it's the same type of concept. So literally, drones could be flying all above you, and you literally wouldn't be able to see them at all. This is a good one here because it pretty much just shows just the eyes. Some of them are still stacked on top of each other, but still pretty clear that, you know, you can even see the glimmer in the eye, and you can see the iris in some of these cases. Sometimes they have irises like in the middle here. And like spray bottles and Windex bottles, like getting creatures on them. And here you can see, you can interpret it as creatures in various ways. And when you focus in on the eyes or one of the eyes, sometimes they'll say shit like, they'll be like, ooh, there's a creature there. Or they'll go, creature, feature. Or they'll say things like, when the Cyclops went above, they went, the Eye of Thundera, or Eye of Thundera. So they know exactly what you're looking at. Because they I don't know if they use the electrolaser for that, but they can use it like an invisible pointer, and they can get you to focus in on a single thing. So here's in my bedroom. This is the wall above my closet. All this movement I saw with my eyes without the aid of a camera. I'm going to freeze it here. I'm going to showcase this area right here. I think it's pretty clear that these could be interpreted as eyes. And again, it doesn't matter if you can't interpret them that way. I saw it with my eyes unaided. So if you look at the eyes, you could interpret this loosely as a mouth. Not so much when you look at the mouth directly, but if you focus on the eyes, then it's more likely for you to be able to see that as a mouth in your peripheral vision. So here's something I think is more clearly the eyes, or it could be interpreted as eyes. I'll even suggest like where some facial features are. I'll do it here too. There's even some color there. You can even make out the irises in them. In regards to the image on the left, they like to make references to Gremlins and Gizmo, because Gizmo was the nickname of Jason Barrientos, who had my stolen phone. Here I'm in the living room, doing some footage of a reflection to showcase what I often see in the mirror. And I'm not saying that this is necessarily the intended content, but I think it's meant to be interpreted multiple different ways and to trick the brain into pattern recognition. But I thought this one was pretty clear how it could be interpreted that way. And you'll see, like when I remove it, that this is actually where my eyes are, up here, and that's where my face is. My eyes definitely looks more cartoony than the other. And if you also look at my mouth, it looks like it's crooked, but I'm not twisting my mouth in any sort of way. I'm not doing a smirk or anything like that. Here I think it's very clear that there's some sort of anomaly happening between my eyes and the reflection, or between the camera lens and the reflection. My eyes appear to, get bigger. They appear to look illustrated. There's absolutely no filter on this. It's not enhanced in any sort of way. This is the original footage. Here it looks like one of my eyes is lower than the other. So in a second, my eyes are about to light up a little bit. And I've seen this do this on other people that I was talking to. They did this to Micah Swindle when he would hang out at the Grove with me sometimes. Sometimes his eyes would light up.
I'm assuming he wasn't aware of it. Here I'm going to be putting my fingers and my hand between my eyes and the reflection. So you'll see that the projected imagery, the projected eyes, the projected twack still shows up over it. So here my hand is in front of both eyes, and you can literally see another pair of eyes projected onto my hand or between the reflection and my hand. Here again, I'm just showing how the eyes still project in front of or on top of the reflection or my hand, and how you can interpret multiple eyes there, how they stack eyes on eyes on eyes. Right here, there always seemed to be an eye on the wall, and right here it looks like two eyes. You can look at it differently and interpret it as one eye, but it kept morphing into one eye and then two eyes, and it looked like the eye was moving back and forth. And as always, keep in mind, I saw this with my eyes unaided. I saw this with my naked eye. And as I say the naked eye, they're playing naked eye. And I'm going to do some interpretations in the projected twack. Keep in mind, I saw this with my eyes unaided without the use of a camera. This with my eyes unaided. I didn't just feel like going outside and spending hundreds and thousands of hours over years just filming trees, just for shiggles, and filming walls and filming the carpet and filming the hair on my skin and my hair and my poop, my dog's poop, all while suffering from 30 other maladies. Do some more interpretations here. So even with this eye, the top right eye, look at that. That has an iris. It has whites of the eyes, and it has a colored iris, and it has a pupil, and it even has a reflective sheen to it. So they like to play with things like that. And look at that. Like, that is very clearly, easily interpreted as an eye. Yeah, whenever I looked across the street here, this is the house across the street, I would, like, it really looked that colorful a lot of times. It looked like the garage door was flashing. I'm going to do some interpretations here. And those pair of eyes, you can even make out the irises in the pupil. I saw these anomalies with my eyes unaided without the use of a camera. The trees around me looked like they had faces in them. And it wasn't every day that they looked like that. There's another interpretation. You can even make out the irises in the eyes and the glimmer. But most nights it didn't look like this. 2 nights in a row. And then it would sort of like reset back to like normal, almost normal. A lot of times it looked like there were faces in the tree. And I know that trees are like clouds. You can interpret multiple things in them. I'm going to do some interpretations here. But I saw the same patterns in the trees that I saw on the walls sometimes, or the same anomalies. Keep in mind, I saw this with my eyes unaided without the use of a camera. Zoom in and lighten it up a bit. This obviously looked like a face. I think that's pretty easy to see how that could be interpreted that way. They're also mentioning the thing to the right, and they're mentioning Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It looks like something with a mask on, but I didn't circle that one. And this one as well. It looks kind of like a face. It looks like a face. I'm going to do some interpretations here. And when I was out there alone on some nights, this twack would increase. It looked like I could see faces in the trees. And I've seen them much more elaborate and complex than this, and more realistic looking. And even this doesn't do it justice, but I think it's pretty clear how you can make out eyes and a face out of this. I'm going to do another interpretation here. In this case, you can still see, the irises in the eye. Like, there's another interpretation. Looks like, it's opening, the creature opening its mouth. I'm going to do another interpretation with like the eye slightly lower. But all this noise I saw with my eyes. So whether or not you can make out any content in this, I still saw it. And around the TV and around the table to the left of it, and I think there's a plant in the corner there, and the artwork. This noise appeared to come out, and I don't believe it just appeared to. It came out in three-dimensional space. So they are holograms, or they appear to be like holograms. So all this noise and all this twack, it would fill the room up with all this squiggling and all this movement. It appeared to create like these holographic, mostly transparent creatures around like the table with like eyes on it and mouths on them, or something that was meant for the brain to interpret it that way. And again, regardless if you can make out any content in this projected noise or this projected twack, I saw it with my eyes unaided, without the use of a camera. I didn't just simply point the camera into a dimly lit room and just look for the noise and look for patterns in the noise and look for, crazy stuff and get in a paranoid, delusional, schizophrenic state, suffering from 24/7 psychoses, none of which I'm actually experiencing. I saw this with my eyes, and so I pointed the camera in the direction that I saw this crap, and so that I could get footage of it. So you are experiencing what I saw with my eyes. Sometimes the colors are different. Sometimes it doesn't. It never really does it justice. So keep in mind that when I saw this, I was able to make out content that was clearer to the eye than it is to the camera. And again, I think that this was meant to be used for crises and hostage situations, so that you could, if you were like in a SWAT team, you could provide some camouflage and cover for victims or hostages, and so that you could also confuse the perpetrators, the gunmen, the terrorists, and make it harder for them to find victims, make it harder for them to shoot the SWAT team.